Today we celebrate what is going to happen next week. Absolutely. SEC Network Kickoff is about the fans. And we're also going to talk about something that might be concerning, but there's some unknown involved as well. So we're going to go over NIL and how it relates to normal university giving in this show. Plus Tom Vanderford. Stick around.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, at the Stephen Willis. You can see right down there. And also, I want to tell you today that today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Also, I'd like to thank everybody for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So do us a favor, subscribe to the YouTube channel, upvote the video itself, and hit the bell for notifications of new videos. If we hit 2,000 subscribers by Labor Day, by the Troy game, we will do a pregame show. But if we don't hit it, we're not going to do it. But we're already doing a postgame show that is going to happen this year. This is kind of the last show of the offseason. And I was sitting here thinking about that. It's like the offseason was so short because of the Ole Miss College World Series run. But this is kind of the last show of the offseason. We're going to get storylines when Lane gets up there, and we're going to talk for the next few weeks. And then fall camp's going to open up about the first week of August, which is a couple weeks away. And then we'll start talking quarterback competition incessantly. And then we'll start talking about games. And I mean, it's going. It's go time. This is the last show of the offseason. So I wanted to take this show to talk about what SEC Kickoff has become. And I've done a lot of stuff on Twitter. I've done TikToks about it, the whole thing. SEC Kickoff is for the fans. The fans have become the dominant feature of SEC Media Days. It's not about the media. They've all been secondary. The whole thing is about this get to know players and get to know coaches, and everybody can see it at the same time. And there aren't any secrets in the main room. There aren't any secrets elsewhere. And you just kind of have what you have, and it's this beautiful celebration of football with it coming up. I mean, you still have a couple of weeks left. They're going to do SEC Media Days this week or next week. And then after that, they'll do the car wash up in Bristol, Connecticut. And then it's go time. I mean, it's there. And are we going to get answers to questions? No. Were we ever going to get answers to questions? No. It's more about general stuff of the head coach talking about where they've made strides, his opinion on certain things, namely NIL or the transfer portal or however it is. And all the coaches can get uniform, and people can ask the same people the same question over and over again, and you can kind of get a consensus of where everybody sits. Now, there's other storylines that people are going to care about in this SEC Media Days, SEC Kickoff, like the Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher meeting. I think Nick is on Wednesday, Jimbo is on Thursday or something like that. I think it'll be interesting to see Brian Kelly. Will he do the faux accent at SEC Media Days? Will he make fun of himself? I think honestly he could score a lot of points with his fan base if he did. If he just came out and dropped a family, just a bad Forrest Gump impression, I think that would be endearing. Greg Sankey, with all this realignment stuff that is going on, what is he going to say? How is he going to handle it? I do not expect him to say anything of relevance because that's just the way this works now. I mean, there's people that try a lot to figure out what's going on, and there are people that think they have their pulse on the heartbeat of the SEC, the Big 12, the Pac-12, or Pac-10, whatever they're called now, and the Big 10. And then something like the USC-UCLA thing happens where over a year, nobody said a thing about it. Nobody caught wind that was happening. It's just like, hey, USC and UCLA might be going to the Big Ten, and it might be happening in the next 3 hours. It was just something absolutely ridiculous. Texas and Oklahoma are really down the road to joining the SEC. And everybody's like, what? We just had Big 12 media days, and everything was supposedly okay. And the fact that all of this can happen under the radar and it not be noticed means that essentially people aren't talking. They know how to keep a secret now. They know who to trust. They know who not to trust. And because of that, they're able to keep a secret longer. And part of this is, like I've said in previous shows, the athletic department and the SEC and all that have put up a wall between them and the media. They do not trust a single one of them, and honestly, they shouldn't. And because of that, they know how to combat what they want by doing something else. They know how to put on a public face for them, but it's not be the real thing. So you have trouble taking anything serious has been said, but an example of that is SEC Media Days, SEC Kickoff becoming about the fans. They're just completely bypassing the media. They want coaches to speak directly to the fan base. The whole thing's going to be televised on SEC Network. They want all 3 players to talk directly to the fan base. They want you to get to know these guys. And you can learn about Brian Kelly, what he's going to bring to the SEC. You can learn about these new coaches that are coming in. Brian Harsin, I imagine Brian Harsin has a bunch of stuff that he wants to say. He probably won't say a dang thing about what happened in January. That seems like 3 years ago when that happened. But it's important to realize exactly what is going on. And that is the SEC has moved SEC Media Days and rebranded it as SEC Kickoff and took it away from the media and made it more about the fans. It is unbelievably easy to get credentialed for SEC Media Days. They want it to be. They want to have huge numbers. So if you have Bob's blog, you can probably get credentialed for SEC Media Days. Like I said, every step they take is about minimizing one side and raising up the other, making it all about the fans, making it the unofficial start of college football season, which it is, because everybody's talking about SEC Media Days or SEC Kickoff when the Big 12 Media Days was happening the last couple of days. By the way, Mike Gundy said that he wishes there was a way that Oklahoma could be excluded from every meeting. And I hate to break it to Mike Gundy, there's a way that could happen. I don't think y'all want to do it, but there's a way that could happen. Just let them go. Yeah, don't stay together for the kids. Let them go. So we'll see exactly how this looks. Hey, in the next segment, we are going to talk about how NIL is affecting regular, normal giving on the university scale. And it's phenomenal. It's basically NIL, colleges and universities have started a fire that is going to take all of the oxygen out of the room. Stick around for that for sure. But first I want to tell you about BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all of your betting needs and sports information. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcast news, and this season. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. You know, which NFL stars move the betting line the most? Starting July 18th, Locked On gives you the 50 most valuable players in the NFL from odds makers at BetOnline. Available July 18th on Locked On NFL, wherever you get your podcast and YouTube. All right. After talking about this celebratory thing of SEC Kickoff, now a little bit of a sadder, more somber take going on. And a lot of people know that I have no problem saying whatever. I am constantly, I just don't like them. The people that think they control college football. That for whatever reason, they think they're justified more influence than other people. And that could be like certain media people, that could be boosters, that could be the whole 9 yards. When in reality, it's one calamity after another, and whenever they make a right decision, it's a lucky break. But an interesting situation has arisen based on that, talking about certain boosters and things like that. And that is the rise of NIL. And everybody's talking about NIL collectives, and they're so consumed with what's going on. I mean, there's no long-term thinking at all. It is a 5 minutes ahead loop, and what can we do with NIL? And the funny thing is, NIL is happening. I told this since January. I've talked about this since January. NIL was going to be the detriment of capital campaigns. And Ole Miss has already delayed their stadium refurbishment in large parts because of NIL. But they're not going to say that because they're still in this brand. So this is the way the NIL cycle was going to work from the time it was invented. NIL and capital campaigns and normal school giving, they thought it was going to exist in the same thing. At that point, they were like, will NIL be new money? How can we contribute to the school? And then all of a sudden they started having to delay capital projects and things they were counting on in their internal money because NIL needed more. Next, they're going to completely stop doing capital programs because NIL needs more. Then all of a sudden they're going to look down and realize that their school giving is not where it needs to be, but NIL still needs more. So they're going to start competing against NIL collectives, which will be at a detriment, honestly, to both, because they want certain amounts of money to function. Now, with the new TV contracts that are going to happen, God bless Ole Miss for this, they're going to need boosters and internal giving less and less. They're talking somewhere in the neighborhood of $120 million a year in the next 5 years, which is amazing because when I was at Ole Miss, the athletic budget, for the total athletic budget, was around $30 million. That was in 2006. That's 15 years ago. And so this is my thing, okay? We haven't added any sport since then. We were able to function on a $30 million athletic budget. Southern Miss functions with a lesser athletic budget with more sports, okay? But that's not important. So you had $30 million and 15 sports or whatever it was. It's the minimum for D1. Now it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $140, $150 million a year for the same amount of sports. Now, I understand that some of that money needs to go, and we can build up these non-revenue sports. Baseball has a big role in this picture. Basketball has a big role. Women's basketball has a big role. Women's soccer has a big role. I do wish Ole Miss would start a gymnastics program. It's kind of weird that they don't, but you'll see exactly what they will do. The money that is coming in, that they're going to make all of this money, it's not going to be a net even. They'll probably save 5% of whatever they bring in, but I mean 5% of that much money is still a ton of money that they can give back to the university, and the university can get a lot better. There's a lot of positives that can happen from what's happening. But the most positive thing that can happen is the decoupling with boosters. Boosters, they're playing the game in the NIL. They are laser focused on exactly what they need to do, but they're going to do that at the detriment of capital giving. And their influence that they had is going to wane over time because they're giving money to these collectives and getting players. The only person that's going to care about those players and the collectives is the head coach, because he doesn't want to get fired. And where's that money going to come from? Probably those same boosters that might be a little bit tapped out. So it might be advantageous to where we stop this hiring and firing loop a little bit because of the NIL collectives. I mean, it's weird. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I hope you can see exactly what I'm saying. But there's a lot of things that nobody is thinking about that are going to become issues in the coming years. That's the reason I tell people, when it comes to NIL, do not put your thumb on the scales. Let it play out. We need to know where this is going to go before we can adjust. Because if you mess with it, it could make it a bad situation even worse. And all of a sudden you could have severe non-parity. But right now we're heading for the 2 super conferences. Everything in college football is going to look different. Remember, I've told y'all this whole time. Whenever somebody says this is the way it's always been, run away. Because they automatically let you know that they haven't been paying attention the last 3 years. It's amazing how much everything has turned around. But anyway, give us a subscription on the website, on the YouTube channel. If we get to 2,000 before Troy, we will do a pregame show. If not, we'll try and figure out a way we can do TikToks and things like that as football season approaches. I'm looking forward to doing that as well. Now, we provide perspectives, commentary. We're going to have a good time. We want to make following Ole Miss sports fun again. Because of that, thank you so much, because you guys contributing down in the comments below and being basically a solid evangelist of all things Locked On Ole Miss is a really cool thing. But we got not Derek Vandygriff. We got Derek Vandygriff this weekend. I think tonight. We got Tom Vanderford in the next segment, and we also have John Garcia and Chris Childers this weekend. This is going to be a big weekend. I'm thinking about not doing rewinds this weekend because those 2 interviews are so cool. I'm thinking about giving them a chance to breathe. Let me know what you think about that in the comments section below. If y'all want rewinds, we can absolutely do rewinds. But Tom Vanderford getting a replay this weekend. John Garcia and Chris Childers going, because I think Chris Childers will probably be on Monday's show as well. But we got a lot of stuff cooking as football season is about to kick off, as SEC kickoff is Monday. Anyway, stick around. All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So do us a favor, subscribe to YouTube. Subscribe to the channel by itself. You hit the bell for notifications and upvote the video itself. If we get to 2,000 subscribers before Troy, we will do a pregame show. If not, that's kind of your tough luck. Anyway, I'm here with Tom Vanderford for his weekly segment on all things Ole Miss sports. How you doing, Tom?
Doing great.
Yeah, it is. I mentioned in the show today earlier on that this is the last day of the off season, because I don't care what anybody says. When SEC Media Days hit, you just hit a different gear and do things a little bit differently. This season ends today.
Oh yeah. SEC Media Days is huge, and that's when everything starts. And before you know it, the guys are going to be. They're going to be back in fall practice, getting ready for that first game. It's just right around the corner. We've got what, right at 2 months, less than 2 months until we've got football.
Yeah,
so I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, pretty good. Troy will be here before you know it. What is the one thing, if you could ask Lane Kiffin and he had truth serum and he had to answer the question at SEC Media Days, what's the one question you would ask him?
Oh my goodness. What's the one question I would ask Lane if he had a truth serum? How long are you going to stay at Ole Miss?
Okay. Okay. I figured you were going to go quarterback competition.
I want him to stay.
Yeah.
I love the guy. I want him to stay.
Yeah, I figured you were
really
going to do quarterback competition with him a little bit.
Well, I have my own feelings about that. I wish we could know something. I would like, if I had a second question, it would definitely be who's really ahead. You know, if you look at the spring game, you're out of the top two guys. It's obvious, but there's enough room for Jaxson Dart to catch up in the fall. Mm-hmm. If he'll settle down. If I had one piece of advice to give to Jaxson Dart, it would be settle down.
Yeah, just calm down.
Dude. Just calm.
Yeah, do not try to win the job every throw. Do not try and chunk it deep. Because I mentioned on this show and elsewhere how smooth Jaxson Dart looks when everything goes right. When it goes right and looks good, it looks really good. When it goes bad, though, it looks really bad. And in between those, the ceiling and on the floor of Luke Altmyer. And I think that floor is what's going to be scary to Lane and Charlie Weiss Jr. Which Jaxson Dart, he has to prove that floor is up a little bit higher. And at least the worst case scenario is about the same.
Yeah, because, I mean, Altmyer is going to be more the safer bet, right now for sure. But the upside of Dart is unbelievable. Altmyer's a dang good quarterback though. So, and he's played in the system longer, and he's had more time to be under the tutelage of Lane Kiffin. So, to that's a positive for Luke. I think Luke's really good in the short game, and that may be all we do. I think Dart's the guy that is capable of doing what we saw Matt Corral do last year against Arkansas and put one about 60 yards in the air for almost a touchdown. But, I mean, I think Dart's got that kind of talent. But I also think Dart's where Corral was before he got to spend some time with Kiffin. And, I think he's somebody that unfortunately has the capability to be a turnover machine. So,
but so did Corral, to be fair. And Corral turned it around.
I mean, I see a lot of similarities with Corral and Dart. I do. We've got to remember Dart was a freshman last year. Yeah. It wasn't like he was, a second or third year player. So there are a lot of similarities to the freshman Corral and the freshman Dart. And it'll just, I think that Charlie Weiss Jr. and Kiffin, Lane Kiffin, are going to work with Dart and Altmyer as well, don't get me wrong. And I think Dart will improve.
Yeah, I think Truth Serum
mellow out.
Truth Serum, I think Lane Kiffin wants Dart to win the job. Just because of the talent. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the top end talent, and that we've got to remember something. He's got a special relationship with Trigg, and Trigg I'm sorry, I may be wrong, but I think Trigg is a game changer. Yeah, I really do. I think he is a game changer. I think he's, like we've said before, a mix between Evan Ingram and Rufus French. I mean, he's a game changer. And they have been together for a while, and they have that trust, and they have that, when you, in the spring game, when you watched it, he towards the end, when he started hitting, a lot of his hits were to Trigg. It was almost like they were just, okay, we're just going to play backyard ball. It's just me and you, Trigg. Let's do this. Yeah, and I warn people to take anything schematically from a spring game. not defensively, not offense. But he had Michael Trigg on his offense. Oh, but the actual first offense will have Zach Evans, and will have Jalen Robinson, and the starting wide receivers, and it will look completely different with a better offensive line. So I think a little bit of that it was a little bit of a wake up to Jaxson Dart, but it's also a fact that this could be a lot better, and I don't think we've seen what he actually is yet.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. I really am. I think Ole Miss is in a win-win situation. Particularly the first 4 games gives us the opportunity for this team to gel, and for one of those 2 people to step up. I think that the first 4 games you'll see both players play, both quarterbacks play. I think we'll see some Ulysses Bentley. I think we'll see a lot of Zach Evans, and we'll see a little bit of all the other running backs just in spells. But it was interesting. I saw something the other day, and I forget who actually ranked it, but they ranked the top 10 running backs in the SEC this year, and 2 of them were from Ole Miss.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. I mean, they had Zach Evans at 5, and I obviously think he's going to be number 1. And they had Bentley at 10. But, Bentley looked at he's got it. He looked a whole lot like another running back we had this year, number 9. He looked a whole lot like him. And I'm constantly surprised at where Kiffin can go get those nuggets. He knows what he wants. That's why I'm not, people are freaking out at the recruiting class. And I'm like, I told a guy today, he said, man, recruiting's going horrible. I said, dude, you said the same thing last year.
Yeah.
And you said the same thing after we were done with high school recruiting. And then you started crowing like the rest of us when we got the transfer class in. I said, Kiffin's going to do it his way. And that's what we've got to think about. Kiffin, in my mind, and I could be wrong, but in my mind, when we lose somebody, like if we end up losing Suntarine Perkins, Kiffin's going to be upset about that, no doubt. We need Suntarine Perkins. But he's going to go find somebody with equal or better talent in the portal and bring them in to fill that spot, to fill that void. No doubt in my mind.
An example would be if Perkins goes to Alabama and everybody's worried about Perkins, there's a chance. I'm not going to put it past Lane Kiffin to go out and get DeJuan Black from Florida, who was Suntarine Perkins before Suntarine Perkins. So I'm not overly worried about any of this stuff. Anyway, get more of the SEC by making Locked On SEC your second listen every day. Chris Gordy and his local experts, that's me, of Locked On take you across the SEC in 30 minutes or less. Make Locked On SEC your second listen every day. Tom, thank you very much for joining us, and get well, feel better, buddy.
Yeah, you take care, man, and hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy.